What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got some Destiny 2 Forsaken news to jump in and talk about. Of course, E3 is happening this week. We've got the final day of E3 today, so it's still possible we're going to get a few more bits of news after this. But in this video we have some details about the story campaign for Forsaken, some of the new locations including the new revamped Prison of Elders, with a few new bits of gameplay inside of the Reef as well as the Dreaming City. We've got some new insights about bow weapons coming to Destiny 2, new raid bosses and a bunch of other stuff, so let's jump straight into it. So starting out, people have now started to get hands-on time with the story for Forsaken. Game Rant actually posted an article with a few details about it. Of course, there are a couple of potential spoilers here, so if you don't want to hear any of those, skip ahead a couple of minutes, but we do have some information about some new locations in the game. So this comes from Game Rant. They say, while Prison of Elders in Destiny 1 was simply a series of interchangeable arenas, the Prison of Elders in Destiny 2 Forsaken feels like a real prison, only with a lot of destruction all around. There are large open areas with cells for various baddies, many of whom have escaped and are running amok. So we actually see some artwork for the new Prison of Elders right here. We can see that it is quite different. It's very large scale. You can actually see various different prison cells. And this version of Prison of Elders is absolutely huge. There are multiple kind of levels and different areas full of enemies. But Game Rant likened the story demo to the first mission in The Taken King, where players descend upon a new area to handle a routine problem before it becomes apparent that something larger and more nefarious is afoot. They do say that Cayde 6 is along for the ride, and so there is ample opportunity for his signature quips. But this is where we've got slightly more spoiler heavy stuff. They say, as revealed in the Destiny 2 cinematic trailer, Cayde 6 meets his demise at the hands of Prince Aldrin. And while seeing Cayde 6 die in the cinematic trailer is disturbing enough, and actually not how it happens in-game, watching it in the context of a story mission is even more disconcerting, and it perfectly sets the stakes for Forsaken, which Bungie bills as a revenge tale for our Guardians. So it sounded pretty interesting, of course. Really looking forward to seeing the Prison of Elders reimagined in this new space. Obviously, it's a pretty huge moment for the story, the fact that we're going to lose Cayde in the universe of Destiny. For anybody who's wondering, Bungie have confirmed numerous times that Cayde 6 is indeed definitely 100% dead. But Game Informer actually posted a video with some information about bow weapons in Destiny 2. During this video though, we get a whole bunch of other footage, different areas in the DLC that we haven't seen yet, including the Reef and the Dreaming City. So we can see right here some of the gameplay space inside of the Prison of Elders. It really gives you an idea for how different this space is. Of course, in this video they speak about bows quite a bit, so there are some really cool insights and bits of developer commentary about it. We see yet more clips inside of the Prison of Elders in the Reef, and then we get the first-person gameplay that we've had of the Dreaming City right here. We get one shot in this pretty vast open space. There's actually a Taken Blight public event going on. We can see that the event is a little bit different. There are a few shriekers there as well, so it's a slightly modified version of the event. But something to note in this gameplay is that you can actually see the power level of all of the enemies individually. And this is not only in the Dreaming City space, but we also see it in the Reef and things like that. So it seems like all enemies are now going to display their power level next to their name. And this definitely makes a lot of sense because Bungie have made power level much more important since Warmind, and I'm sure they're pushing more in that direction with Forsaken as well. The endgame climb of content is also going to be much bigger in Forsaken than what we've had so far, and so Bungie are giving us that heads up of the various power levels for the enemies that we're actually fighting now. So that's definitely good to see, but we see yet more gameplay of the Dreaming City, a little bit of first-person action right here with one of the bows. We can see this thing doing an absolute ton of damage to these PvE combatants. But of course the Dreaming City space is pretty incredible. I'm actually going to talk about the Dreaming City a little bit more in a moment. But Greg Peng, one of the lead sandbox designers and the guy who actually designed the first bow, said that the bow is the highest damaging primary ammo weapon in the game. In PvP, it's currently playing as a 2-shot kill. Some folks have asked me why it isn't a 1-shot kill like the No Land Beyond or something, because obviously this archetype does share a few similarities to something like No Land Beyond. With the current time to kill in Destiny 2, obviously they want to keep it a 2-shot kill. But we should remember this is actually pretty early days in terms of development, and John Wisniewski did say they are working on PvP time to kill. It's probably going to take right up to, before launch for them to get that nailed down. So there is potential, I guess, that some of this stuff could change. But Greg says there's also an analog nature to the draw. Releasing early changes the arrow trajectory. This is a weapon that has great expressiveness of skill. And Greg goes on to say the goal is to create a new weapon archetype that fits the space frontier feeling of the Tangled Shore. So just a couple of interesting insights right there. I will link that Game Informer video down below, definitely worth checking it out. Now though, I wanted to briefly make reference to random rolls. Of course, they are returning to Destiny 2 with Forsaken. Bungie have confirmed that it is the Year 2 weapons that we'll see random rolls on. The Year 1 stuff will stay fixed, but will be infusible up to max levels. And some folks have asked, why is it that only Year 2 stuff gets random rolls, when Bungie have actually put weapon randomization on the roadmap as a free update for all players? Because of course, if only the Year 2 weapons actually get it, then most of those are tied to DLC, but I guess that's the point, it's only most of that stuff because we do have seasonal weapons like the Iron Banner, faction rallies, and any other event things that come up that may have weapon rewards that are available for everybody. And so in those instances, players who don't have Forsaken will actually be getting access to weapons that can have random rolls. So I just wanted to clarify that there will of course actually be some weapons with that stuff that players can access, but absolutely it is going to be pretty limited compared to folks who buy the expansion. Either way, I 100% understand the arguments around that. We'll have to wait for more word from Bungie. They actually haven't broken down too many details on how weapon randomization is going to work across the board. Things like the mod system, the new masterwork style system for weapon progression. There's a lot of stuff we still need to hear about, so potentially Bungie could give us more clarification then. Now I want to speak about a few quotes regarding Prince Uldren and the new raid that we'll see in Forsaken, and this comes from PC Gamer. So they were speaking with Bungie, and Chris Barrett said Uldren is someone you can actually talk to and say things that you can relate to, and I think that's going to be really cool. Scott Taylor goes on to say Uldren is able to vocalize what he's doing and why, and you'll very clearly understand why he's doing it. So PC Gamer asks, in Destiny expansions normally, the big bad ends up being in the raid. Would you consider a raid possible with this kind of character rather than some enormous creature? So basically he's asking, would a character like Prince Uldren potentially be in the raid? And Taylor did say, I'll tell you something, the raid is connected story-wise to all of this. The raid is directly related to the story of Forsaken. It's not a side thing. It's the ultimate culmination of everything that you've learned, but that doesn't mean the obvious thing. So pretty interesting. Potentially we're going to meet a character that we didn't expect in the raid. Scott Taylor also referred to the raid being about ultimately climbing this tower in the Dreaming City, and we have seen this giant tower that's actually kind of part of the palace in the Awoken homeland. Of course, if we were chasing Uldren throughout the campaign and didn't actually catch up to him, it's perfectly likely that he could be in this space, and it could be in the raid that we actually get to fight him. The Awoken have a lot of magic and secrets in this space, things that we don't understand as Guardians. So it is entirely possible that Uldren could use some of that magic, could use some of the enemies, the allegiances that he has, but it's also possible we could run into another character like I said. We have seen concept art for this character, which is a very interesting one, certainly an Awoken NPC. Some people have speculated it's the Queen, but I'm pretty sure it's a male character. There are other potential Awoken characters that it could be. Some folks have speculated maybe it could be a vendor or NPC related to the Dreaming City or the raid itself, and I think that's also pretty likely. But PC Gamer actually speak about raid loot. He says, I loved the second raid lair, but going through it for a sidearm and a fusion rifle doesn't feel like the hottest thing ever. Scott Taylor says, if I start talking about raid loot, the raid team will find me. But Barrett said, I think it's a very valid point. They are some of the hardest activities in the game. They take the most time, they take the most coordination, and they should have the best rewards. If we're not living up to that in certain cases, then that's great feedback, and we need to improve on that for sure. So it sounded like that raid loot issue is on Bungie's radar. Of course, some of the stats stuff, mods, having randomization potentially on raid gear as well, new perks on the armor, these do solve some of the issues with raid loot, but then of course it's about fleshing out the loot table. We need a full suite of weapons, armor, cosmetic stuff that you can get in the raid. We do need a pool of stuff much bigger than what we've seen in all of the other raids in Destiny 2 so far to actually keep that replayability there. But Scott Taylor does confirm the Dreaming City is a full destination, not just about the raid, but it's about the endgame. He says the space will change over time, but we're not going to tell you how. But we see various mysterious things here, of course the tower in the Awoken Palace, these mysterious kind of orb spheres rotating. And then this interesting Taken Blight with these bizarre kind of statues around them. We see various grand entrances, halls, and spaces. And in this area, we even see a kind of floating, mysterious orb of light. So even in the gameplay, we've seen little teasers and things that we'll find inside of this new space. But guys, that is going to summarize this video. I just wanted to break down a few impressions and new things that we're learning about the Warmind expansion. It's really cool to see just a few little new clips of gameplay in some of those new spaces. So let me know any thoughts you have on the insights inside side of this video. But if you have enjoyed it, guys, a like is super appreciated below. It really helps me out over here on the channel. Today is my last day in Los Angeles, so I've got a few meetings and things like that, and then I'll be jumping back onto a plane later on. So hopefully I can keep you guys posted on the other end. Bungie are probably still going to be talking about stuff. But for now, I appreciate you as always, guys. Thanks for all of the support recently. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see more D2 content. But for now, whatever you guys do, I hope you have an awesome day.